we were discussing about the conditional statements in the AMPscript. What are the conditional statement we have? Let's understand first. Conditional statements in AMPscript. Okay. So conditional statements are first is single conditional and second is multi-conditional. Multi-conditional. What is single conditional? Single conditional is nothing but the if statement or if else statement. Multi-conditional means if, else if, else if, else statements. Okay, these are the single and multi-conditional. Now let me write down the syntax for all. So for the first, that is if statement. In the AMPscript, we can write if statement like if condition, then code block and end if. Okay, this is the if statement, right? Then we have else if statement, if condition, then code block, else. In front of else there is no then, right? Else, directly code block and end if. This is a if else statement. And what about the multi-conditional? If condition, then code block, else if condition, then code block, else if condition, then code block, end if. Okay, and these else ifs can be multiple, right? It can be multiple. Okay, so these are the single statement. These are the single conditional statement, and these are the multi-conditional statements. Okay, now these are the statements. These are not the functions, right? Apart from the statements, we can write down the conditional using the double if function also, right? There is one more concept called as for the conditional statement or conditionals, that is double if function. What is meant by double if function? Double if function is a inline representation of the if else conditional. It is a inline representation of if else condition in the AMPscript. Okay, perfect. Right. Now, what is the syntax for it? Right. It is something like this. If logical operation, logical condition, value if true, value if true, and value if false. Okay. Let's understand this quite simply with the simple example. Okay. Let me jump to my email that I'm using for the practicing AMPscript. So I guess this is my email. Let me open the email. Let me switch the internet, guys, because I was connected to the phone. This phone. Okay, I'll click on edit and edit content. Okay, now if you observe, this is our example, existing example. In this example, we have identified the means number is greater or less, right? Let me write down the same example using the if condition, right? So for example, I wanted to find out the two numbers, right? In between two numbers, right? The greater number, right? And I will right now, for now, I'll do one thing, right? Okay, I will not go for this example. I will simply go for the simpler example. Consider, right? We have the subscribers who might be non-voters also, right? And in on the voting day, we have to send one email for awareness about the voting, right? So we have to identify the customer is voter or non-voter. How we can identify? Using his age. Consider we have the age of the subscriber in one variable. For example, this is the age. For example, age is 19, then he is eligible for voting, but age is 17, he is not eligible for voting. If age is 18, he is eligible for, let's say, voting. Okay, now let's understand this properly. Uh, Whenever we are simply writing the condition, right, we have to write the condition on one variable. Okay, now if I am using the age variable, then age variable has age variable is a part of my logic, right? So I will write something like this to solve the problem. I will write the if else conditional. If condition, then code block, code block, else, else condition, sorry, else does not have any condition, right? Code block and end if, end if. Okay, this is my if else statement. Okay, what is the condition? At the rate age is greater than equal to 18, or I will simply make it simple. Age is greater than 17, then some means anyone becomes eligible for voting. Okay, now I can do one thing. I can have one variable here, right? For example, set at the rate message equal to eligible, eligible for voting, perfect, or set at the rate message equal to not eligible for voting. Okay, and if I wanted to see the message, I will write the function. I will copy the message, paste over here, done editing, next. Now, simply this statement we understood yesterday only, right? And we can make a conclusion, right? The person or someone is eligible for voting. Why? Because of the age is 18. Okay, if age is, let's say, 16, he will not become eligible for voting, right? So this is the traditional if else statement, right? Instead of writing this if else statement, instead of writing the variable, we can set up the code blocks also, right? Means, for example, here we can close our amp script, here we can open our amp script, here we can close the amp script, and here we can open the amp script and simply execute the same logic without using the v function, right? Okay, now my requirement is the same problem statement I have to execute it using the if logic, double if function, right? Double if function is an inline function, right? So whenever I say function, it will return something, right? So let me show you, right? So how double I function will executed the same logic. Okay. So what I will do, I will simply I will simply have one variable set at the rate message equal to, I will write double I function. Double I function containing the three parameter always, right? First parameter will be my logical condition. Okay. Second parameter will be value if true. Third parameter will be value if false. Okay. What is my condition? Condition is if age is greater than 17. If age is greater than 17. Now, if this condition, the whatever condition I have written or highlighted, right? If this condition is true, then we must get, or we must have something in return that we have to specify here. For example, if age is greater than 17, then I want message as eligible for voting. So I'll write eligible for voting, right? And if this condition is false, right, then not eligible for voting. Okay. Now let me check, right? The message using v function. Okay, I'll click on done editing. I'll click on next. Perfect. Uh, it is loading, but it will work in few seconds. Yeah, not eligible for voting because we have given the age as 16, right? Let me make it 23. 23 is not eligible. It is eligible for voting. 23 is eligible for voting, right? So this is also a way to write down the conditional statement or conditional logic. Okay, here in the single line, right, we are writing the logic using one particular function. Okay, now I can easily write down the entire if function into the content block, right? For example, consider I have the age stored in one particular variable, right? I'll do one thing, right? I will create one button. Consider this is a button, right? Okay, and here I wanted to print the particular person is eligible for voting or not, or forget about the button, right? I will drag and drop, right? Let's say text block, right? And here, right, you are. Okay. After you are, I wanted to print eligible, but eligible if the person is eligible for voting, then eligible for voting, right? Then if the person is not, then dynamically it should change. Okay. So how we can use it in line directly using the inline function. So percent, right? Double IF, right? Sorry, percent equal to double IF function, right? Equal to percent. Now this double IF function, I will copy and paste. I'll copy entire function, right, and paste here. So if you can see percent equal to double IF, right? Whatever function we have equal to percent. Okay, I will remove this entire thing. Okay, done editing. Next, right? So I can use the conditional logic in line, which is not possible using the if else statement, right? Here that is possible by using double IF function, right? You are eligible for voting. Why? Because age is 23, right? Let's have age 15, right? Done editing, right? Next is you are not eligible for voting. You are not eligible for voting, right? Generally, we use this for let's say for Mr. Mrs. salutations, right? Double I function we use for Mr. and Mrs. salutation, right? Miss salutation. Then if there is missing data, right, we use there, right, a double I function, right? So whenever we have to write anything in a line, right, means we have to write down the condition, right, in the content line, then we can write this double I function using the inline function. Can I use the entire thing into button? Of course, yes. We can execute the AMPscript on the button title also as a button text. Observe. Am I clear? So this is the double I function. Am I clear, guys? Are you getting me? Yeah. So let's write down one program, right, using this double I function, right? This is also important question, guys, right? Interviewer might ask you. So observe, right? Set at the rate number, right, equal to 10. Set set at the rate num2 equal to 20, and set at the rate num3 equal to 30. Consider I have these three numbers, num1, num2, num3, and I have to identify the greater number from the three numbers, right? Let me show you the logic that I will write for this problem statement. Okay, consider we have a three numbers, right? Num1 equal to 10, num2 equal to 20, num3 equal to 30. Now I can easily identify num3 is greater. Why? Because of human intelligence. Okay, but how does our intelligence or logic will work? We compare num3 with num2 as well as num1, right? And we identified that num3 is greater from both. Okay, if I change the value of the num2 to 40, then what will happen? I again compare with 40 with 30 and 40 with, let's say, 10. If both the conditions are true, then I can identify or I can say that num2 is greater, right? If num1's value is 50, then I compare num1 with, let's say, with num2 as well as num3, right? If both the things are true, then we can say that num1 is greater. Okay, this is the logic. Now same logic we have to write down using the conditional statement as well as, means, first conditional statement, then double if function. Am I clear? Am I clear with the logic, guys? Anyone has doubt in the logic? Yes or no? Shall I move ahead with the example? Yeah. So first we will execute the multi-conditional statement. Okay. Now observe what is the syntax for us. Right. Syntax is really simple. If condition, then code block. Okay. Else if condition, then code block. Right. Else if, again I will check for few conditions, then code block, and else code block. Finally, we must write end if. Okay, this is my multi-conditional statements logic or syntax. Okay, now first condition I will write for num1 greater. Second condition I will write for num2 greater. Third condition I will write for num3 greater. And final condition I will write for if inputs are not correct. Okay, right? So let me write down the condition. Condition is really simple, right? When num3 becomes greater, right? When num3 becomes greater, if it is greater than num2 as well as num1, then num3 becomes greater, right? Similarly, when num1 becomes greater, when num1 is greater than num2 as well as num1 is greater than num3, right? Means both the condition, that is first condition is num1 is greater than num2 and second condition is num1 is greater than num3 must be true, right? Then we can say that num1 is greater, right? So I'll write both the condition here. Num1 is greater than num2. Okay, num1 is greater than num2. Now I have to write one more condition. Whenever we are writing multiple condition, we have to use the logical statements like and or, right? Here we have to explicitly make both the condition true, right? To define whole logic true, right? So that's why we will write here and. Okay, and num1 is greater than num3. Okay, so num1 is greater than num2 and num1 is greater than num3, right? This will become me true. This will give me true or false. This will again give me true or false. If both of them are true, then the entire will give me true, right? And then I can say that num1 is greater. Okay, so I'll specify the message, sorry, set at the rate message equal to num1 is greater number. Okay, fine. Now I will go for the second condition, right? Similarly, num2 greater than num1 and num2 greater than num3. Okay, then we can set message equal to, right? Num2 is greater number. Okay, right? The third condition, right? Third condition. Okay, third condition is at the rate num3 greater than num1 and num3 greater than num2. Okay, then I can set a message set at the rate message equal to num3 num3 is greater number. Okay, fine. And we have a code block final if we have not got any number greater, then we will set the message invalid data. Okay, right, done. I will use v function to view the message. Percent equal to v equal to percent. Okay, what I wanted to see, I wanted to see the message. Okay, I'll done editing. I will remove both the code blocks. Why? Because it will give me error because these variables means age variable is not present, right, in our AMPscript now. Done editing. Next, right? Observe. Num3 is greater. Why? Because of the value 10, 20, 30. If I make num2 40, then num2 is greater. If I make num1 50, then it will give me num1 greater. Num1 is greater. Yeah. If I make, let's say, num1 and num2 both value right? Same and the greater. If you observe, num1 is also 50 and num2 is also 50, right? And num3 is 30, right? Which is greater? Now our program will get confused, right? It must give us a invalid data. Invalid data. If I gave, let's say, num2 and num3 30 30 and num1 50, now I can identify easily num1 is greater, right? It must give me num1 greater. Okay, so this is how we can write down the multi-conditional. Now the question is, right, we can write down this multi-conditional, but this double if function only has one logical condition. How we can execute the same logic using double if function, right? Still write a multiple condition, right? Here, if you can see, right, how many conditions do we have? How many conditions do we have? One, two, three. Three conditions, right? So how we can execute same with double if function? Observe, right? Here I will set at the rate message, right? I will set message equal to, right, double if. It has always a three parameter, right? First will be your logic, or we can say that condition logic. Second will be value if true, value if false. Okay, I will copy this, right, for the future. Now, what is the condition? What is the first condition? Here we have this first condition. If num1 is greater than num2 and num1 is greater than num3, I will copy this condition, right? Paste over here. I have pasted, right? If value is true, then we must get this message. Okay. If value is true, we must get this num1 is greater number message. If value is false, actually there is no default outcome. We cannot just paste the invalid data in the false. We have multiple conditions to test till, right? So what we will do, we will in the false, we will again write double if function. Double if, right? Double if, right? Logic true and false. Okay, our conditional logic true and false. What is my second condition? Second condition is this. I will copy and paste the second condition. Copy, right? Okay. What if value is true? This will get executed, right? So simply I will paste. What if value is false? I need to check one more condition. So again, I will write here double if. Okay, double if. Okay, fine. Now observe in this double if, right? I have three parameters: logic, true, and false. Okay, here we have to write third condition. This is the first condition, guys, right? This is the second condition. This is the third condition. Let me just copy the third condition, right? Paste, right? After pasting it, right? What if value is true? It must give us this num3 is greater number. Okay, and what if value is false? It must give us invalid data. Okay, default outcome, right? So we have identified the message. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll just remove this entire logic, right? I'll remove the v function also. I will use another v function to see the new message that I have. Okay, copy it, paste it, done editing, next. Uh, 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 uh. Okay, my bad. Right here, I put double F instead of double I. Right, double I function should be like this. Double IF. Okay, right. Done editing. That was the spelling mistake that I make. Okay, number is greater than and num3. The function call the usage unrecognized function name double if. Where is where is this?
One more double F.
Okay, inside that only. Okay, fine. So everywhere I have written wrong. Just hold. Yeah. Okay, fine. So instead of double I write double F. Right. It is a spelling mistake. Okay. If you can see, number is greater. Why? Because of our inputs 50, 30, 30. Okay. I'll write one thing 10, 20, 30. What I am expecting now, right? The num3 is greater. Num3 is greater, right? And what about now? Num2 greater, 40. Num2 is greater. Okay. If the both greater number are same, for example, 40, 40, then invalid data. Invalid data. So this is how means we can write down the double if function. We will be using double if as well as if else statements, right? In the future, right? So always remember these are the conditional statements. These are the conditional function, right? This is conditional function. Okay. Any doubt, guys? Everyone is getting the AMPscript. Tomorrow we will be discussing about the lookup rows, and after that I will share one assignment to you. Okay, fine.